because of the delay, I always want to just sing my way in. So, hey. It's almost February.
There we go.
Exciting times. Woo. Cool it down.
You got the vapors?
I am hot, but you know why? Because
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Dang
so
right.
many reasons. Because the last time I was here, I think it was like 35 below, and now it's like so
I know.
hot out.
And now it's balmy out.
Balmy.
I can't believe I didn't wear shorts.
That is a bit.
But I did wear my new furry Crocs.
Your frocks.
They're frocks. Yeah, my height with my lifted
I can't
frocks.
wait till you come in this spring in your jorts and your frocks.
I'll have to get a new pair of jorts, though.
Jorts and frocks.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's awkward when he wears his short
It's like
jorts.
I got a speech impediment over here.
Yeah, jorts and frocks. Well, good morning, everybody, or wherever you're watching. If you're replaying, good evening. If it's 3 in the morning, you can't sleep. Thanks for tuning in. This is just an honor if you're here. Gonna start out, please just drop a little like hi, hey, because as always, hear from people, watch the show, heard the show, would love to hear from you. If you are listening to this on your podcasting app, I think you can rate me. So if you could like rate me a 5 or something, or give me a review or something, I'm talking to you, John Motherwell. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. So
Hint, John.
Hint, Mo, if you could do that. So good morning. Excited to be back. Kind of trying something a little different. Probably trying to do every other week now. So I don't want you to be disappointed if you don't see me. But loading up the calendar with some just awesome guests. So excited for 2024. Got a guest here today, so I will quickly do an intro so we can get to her because she's fantastic. So this is Put a Fork in It, Grand Forks' most exciting and chatted about once in a while podcast video cast. My name's Courtney Barstead Logan. I'm a realtor here in the Grand Cities with eXp Realty. And you can find me on the socials at Grand Cities Living. You can find it on Instagram, Facebook. Where else are we? We're on YouTube. I had the image in my face, Podbean and all the things, and Grand Cities Life on Twitter. So you can find me there. If you have any questions or concerns for my broker, please feel free to contact her at nd.broker@exprealty.net. So now that we've done all the fine print, we can get into the exciting stuff. So this morning, I'm so happy to have my friend, President and CEO, of CVIC, Coiya Tompkins Inman here today.
Hello.
Yay. And you're so bright and cheery with your pinks and getting ready. You're ready for February.
I am so ready.
It's exciting.
Yeah, you just have to get through January around here.
I know. But you were just in the sunshine. So I was following you and living vicariously through your sunshine.
I have nothing to complain about. Literally nothing.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you?
2024's been good.
I was on my honeymoon.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
How about that?
See? Cue that new last name that I had to double check.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm still getting used to it as well.
Yeah.
As well as how to make an I in cursive.
Yep.
It's been a while.
And having the two last names like I do, you just, after a while, you're like, ah.
Yeah, you do it too. You're still Barstead Logan. Yep. You do it. So you feel my pain.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, there's a lot of changes. So it takes, I think my Panera card is still in my maiden name. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do whatever you gotta do.
I found one thing. So TSA was the last straw.
Yeah.
Trying to get through that without the right name was fun.
Yes.
In a couple different airports. So.
Yes. And I remember when I switched my Delta stuff, they made me fax something.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, that's super fun. Let's
It's old
fax
school.
things.
Yeah.
Yes. So just in case you get married, you have to fax.
Yeah.
Well, it's like me. I have 2 names. That's no fun either.
Two
You have
first
two
names.
first names.
No,
Yeah.
no,
No. Are you
No.
John Paul?
no. But I'm not
That's
John
my name.
Roberts in real life.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We don't want to tell people
There you
that.
go.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah. It's always interesting. But Coiya and I are for real Courtney and Coiya in real life.
There you go.
That's our real names.
That's our real names, not
Okay.
our stage names. So
It sounds like a dance duo or something.
it is.
Kind of does.
Kind of fun.
Like from the,
Yeah.
like a pop duet from the 80s.
From the 80s. Listen, anything can happen, okay?
Anything can happen.
There you go.
You can learn anything at any age.
Absolutely. So we are here to talk about CVIC, and I got involved with CVIC back in college, which was some odd 23 years ago. We'll put that out there. So an organization that's always been near and dear to my heart, but in coming back to Grand Forks and connecting with Coiya and her team and all the work that they do, it's an organization that I wanted to share with our listeners and viewers, just those that don't know about the organization and all of the things. I always learn so much when our guests come in and find out the programming that happens in our community and the work that all of you do. And so really just wanted to give you the platform to be able to share what is CVIC, what are those resources that we have, and then also how can we as a community help you, and whether give of our time, talent, and treasure.
I so appreciate that. I have the best job in town, I think.
Yeah.
So I get to work with 82 amazing people, as well as thousands of donors and partners, and it's just, awesome. I'm really blessed.
Yeah. And you're always smiling. So you clearly love your job, which is
yes,
awesome.
I really do.
I love it.
I really am very fortunate.
So tell us about your role at CVIC and really the organization, when it started, and its role in our community.
Well, it's unbelievable, but the agency is almost as old as I am. It's younger than me.
20 years old.
It's younger than me. Yeah. So we will be 44 this year in August on my grandma's birthday. So I never forget.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
So we started as a real grassroots effort in the attic of an old church. There were about 8 individuals that saw some crud happening in the late 70s and just thought, not on our watch, which is what, it's so funny because I shouldn't say funny, it's intriguing to me that those 8 individuals are literally the core of what is still living out today. 4 decades later, these are individuals that really want to stand for what's right. I love that community's in our name because it truly is owned by the community, and everyone kind of rallies together. And we continue to evolve and try to get better at this big thing called interpersonal violence. But it's been amazing. So it's been 40 years now, 44 years in August that we've been around. We are a full service, comprehensive, I like to call it soup to nuts approach. So every domestic violence and sexual assault is our focus area, but we focus on all types of interpersonal violence, stalking, dating violence, bullying. And we really try and have evolved over the years, in fact, probably more prominently the last 20 of our 40 years, to really focus on that prevention and education piece of what we do. So it kind of starts with everything from those emergency issues and in that safety space to the transitional and healing things in between, which is a myriad of activities, and then finally the prevention education, which we're actually trying to stop it from ever happening.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's so interesting because you get an idea in your head of an organization like CVIC that they're always like a crisis space, that they're constantly picking up the phone and this is the thing that's happening, but the behind the scenes and the education that's happening from the university level to I was at your most recent event where they talked about the work happening in the schools with kids and just the work that's happening there, that they're not seeing that ripple effect where we start with the kids and we have that good positive experience with them to eliminate the bullying, which leads to that next step. And I think people look at you maybe as as that crisis line,
right? And
that's
it.
And so, so it's so interesting to see. What are the different areas that you serve? So I know there's, like you just mentioned, all of the facets. So what are the key areas that your staff work on?
So we have everything from the advocacy and crisis services. So we do have a 24-hour crisis line, and up until about 15 or 20 years ago, that was actually manned full-time by volunteers. Now we actually pay people to do it on a part-time basis. We've got about 5 or 6 of them on call 24/7. So even when the office is closed after 5:30, it's still being answered 24/7. So those are those crisis services that are really tough to talk about, but they happen. So we work closely with law enforcement and healthcare. Often, violence doesn't happen between 8 and 5 either. Sometimes it does, but not always. So we have all those crisis services, advocacy services. So that advocate is with the client kind of every step of the way. And then oftentimes, if they do need shelter or some sort of housing assistance, that's not the last stop, right? So things happen after that where they might need transitional housing or some career assistance. Maybe it's a transportation issue. You know, we recently had an incredible gift from Rydell where they gifted for the second year in a row now 12 vehicles to 12 of our clients. Just an incredible company that really takes, but that's, you know, that sounds like a small thing, but when you're trying to flee a violent situation, you know, transportation is often one of the first things that can be manipulated by the person that's causing violence in the relationship. So it's just, so those transitional housing and transportation systems are often things that we do in that safety phase. And then in the in-between phase, as we're going through trauma, often we find that it might be rooted in years prior. It might not have just been the most recent situation. And so we have several therapists on staff that take care of both kiddos and adults, highly experienced, all masters trained, of course. And they provide that healing space. And what I really love about what we do and what the community enables us to do through their generosity is we, you know, sometimes trauma can take years to get through. So even though, you know, I recently had a conversation with a former client the other day who's kind of, you know, things are kind of resurfacing. And I said, you know, I just want you to know we're always here, you know, even though you're on the other side of this, you know, our team's there for you all the time. So we might stay with a client for, you know, over a period of years. But that's really, for a lot of them, what's really made the difference because that trust is developed. We also have an attorney on staff who helps with a variety of legal issues. We work very closely with Haley Wamstead and her team at the State's Attorney's Office. Of course, law enforcement is often our first point of contact and introduction to many of these victims and survivors. So that's kind of that sort of safety and healing space. And then following that is the prevention and education, and we're really passionate about that. To me, it's what makes us stand apart. As I look at how we are, you know, Christy Halgeran and her team are really built this, and I kind of walked into it very late in the game, but you know, it's something that's been built over time, and I think what differentiates us as I learn more about this very complex issue of interpersonal violence is we are trying to prevent violence before it even happens. You know, I spent a lot of time along with my sister colleagues throughout the states, as well as a couple people on staff at CVIC at the legislature this past session. And I really tried to hammer home some of these prevention efforts because we know when we educate youngsters that we see a behavioral change. And if we can prevent that from happening, we can, you know, reach these youngsters before things even evolve as adults. Because for a lot of and many people don't know too, that the other half of that safety and education piece is we also help those who use violence in relationships as well. And I would say well over 95% of them have experienced trauma as a kiddo or sometime in their life. So, you know, we know when we help mom and dad, we're helping those kiddos too. So we had, at the height of our time, pre-COVID, we were educating about 15,000 people here in Grand Forks County annually. Wow. About half of those were kiddos in the elementary and secondary education. And what's been really fun for us throughout the past couple of years, in fact, we were just recognized for this partnership by Mutual of America for a Community Partnership Award, is our relationship with Grand Forks Public Schools and the university here has really grown so that we have expanded services on campus. And then we've also evolved our relationship with Grand Forks Public Schools. So now, regardless of where your kiddo is, whether it's Schrader Middle School or Phoenix Elementary, they will be getting consistent, healthy relationship education, age appropriate, of course. You know, we start with littles and go all the way up to senior high. And then what's really great is if they decide to stick in Grand Forks, they'll actually continue to get access to CVIC community outreach on campus at the university as well.
Which is, I absolutely love, and the program at UND has evolved and just has always had a great presence with starting with Kay Mendick and
yes,
you know, and that group and just looking at all of that. One thing I want to go back to is, when you talk about the resources that you provide, and I think it's so hard for people to understand it if they've never been in a situation like that. But I always tell people, envision taking your house and just shaking it upside down and then saying like, okay, grab a few things and go, because it's kind of like in a fire. What would you grab? What are those things? And so you've got somebody that might not have you said you have an attorney on staff. They might not have their documentation, if it's a passport or a birth certificate, child's favorite toy, like just thinking through that. And then you've got pets involved, which is also another thing that you work through with everybody, because those sometimes they become like a leverage to stay, or, so there's so many layers of that, where I think people say, well, why didn't you leave? And why didn't you do that? And the resources that you can provide to say, hey, here's your safe space, and here's this list. You probably aren't even thinking about half of these that we can help with. And I think that's where our community comes into play so much, with the work that we can do in providing whatever it is, to you. And I think that gets so confused.
It does get confused. And I think what we know about trauma too is that it doesn't always start with physical things, although it can escalate to that, and sometimes does. But, when we start to educate folks who've not experienced it firsthand, you start talking about, well, if the person causing violence has control of the checkbook, okay, we often do an exercise with folks where we say, okay, you have $200, and what's your safety plan? And you start really thinking through those steps, and that's what's so great about our advocacy team, and this is what they do every day, all day, and so they're very experienced with how to keep folks through that emotional space and how to continue to be that support system for them.
Yeah.
It can be really overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that big picture of, ending that cycle of violence that I know you're so focused on is looking at that student now, where we're so blessed for the work that you do in our school system, and then at UND. I've had the privilege of doing some work with healthy relationships across the country with my sorority Alpha Chi Omega, who's a huge partner of yours.
Yep.
But understanding that a lot of students, even when they enter college, don't know what a healthy relationship is, which is, it's sad, because we didn't talk about that before. And now that conversation's happening for students that maybe are, wow, my family is in a healthy relationship, and this is how I can, support my peers. But that next step, and hearing that when you received the award from the
Mutual of America.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was so wonderful to hear, because they were such in awe of the work that the schools are doing here in partnership with you. So,
well, and we can't do it alone, and we continue to just get incredible support.
Yeah.
We actually share a position with Grand Forks Public Schools as well.
So awesome. And then one of your staff members is at the university. Is that
two?
Okay.
Two, yeah.
Okay. Yes. So
yeah, we actually were able to make Lindsay's position full time thanks to the partnerships there. And it's hard to even name all the folks at UND, because there's so many incredible champions for what we do, and just really appreciate it.
Yeah. So what ways, because you have so many programs, what ways can our community get involved? Whether, obviously, a donation of funds is always welcome to be able to support your work, but what are ways that people can, give and support and make that change for you?
Well, I think, the biggest thing, what is kind of on our dream list is to be able to create a more sophisticated volunteer program. We often have, projects that come up throughout the year where we always have groups that want to do kind of things for a couple of hours, but ideally, I would love to have a full service volunteer program. The challenge with that is it takes, it's almost like creating a mini HR department, because a volunteer still has to go through a variety of, training and checks and all that. So that's kind of on our wish list. But in the meantime, the biggest ways people can help are just to, share what's happening, what we're doing here at CVIC. If they have a friend or family member who's going through something like this, they can always call us as well if they're not sure how to handle that situation. We typically try to meet clients where they are, so I typically encourage folks to, if they want to come with that person, that'd be great. But that's one way. And then, of course, I don't know if you want to ask me about Giving Hearts Day, but you'd be disappointed if I didn't bring it up. This is actually, for our agency, this is a major Contribution to our private giving every year. So Cara Fossey and Emberly Leitz and Riley Egan, that's kind of the development team. I'm sort of a pinch hitter on the team, but that's kind of the core team. But the three of them, work around the clock all year to raise private funds through primarily local gifts. And they raise over $1 million annually. So we could not do this without our Giving Hearts Day efforts. So that's one of the biggest things coming up here on February 8th.
February 8th, yes.
So we have a number of what we're calling leadership gifts, which we'd love to invite folks if they're it's on their heart to give in advance. We'd love to talk about that. We have some materials that are pretty powerful. What I'm so excited about, I think this is one of the best campaigns that Cara and her team have come up with, but it talks specifically about kiddos and kind of what they're experiencing at various ages and why contributing to education is so important.
So for those that aren't familiar with Giving Hearts Day, which last year it was so fun, I got to traipse around town with intern Carly then and go take in some of the Giving Hearts Day fun. It's so wonderful. It's one of my favorite days to go online and give and see all the organizations just having that day. It's like a big old phone-a-thon going on. Yeah. So Giving Hearts Day is in 2 weeks, February 8th.
February 8th.
Yes. And so you have already started fundraising and people can already give to CVIC online.
They can.
Yeah.
It's just real important when they give that they note that it's for Giving Hearts Day, because if they don't, we can't count it
Yes.
toward our giving. And then for businesses or other partners that might be interested in not only giving, but we've tried to sweeten the pot a bit with some extra promotional opportunities through the giving. We have various what we're calling leadership gifts, where we actually tied a dollar amount to how many kids you're impacting. So at a $2,500 level, you're impacting 44 kids, 5,088, and so on. So it's just a way to kind of show your support with some extra promotions. We also have a YouTube channel, so that's one way you can get some extra exposure for your business. And we're probably not as sophisticated as you are here at Best Source, but we're doing our best. We've got a Facebook page and Instagram.
They make me look techie, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm impressed. They were educating me here before you got here.
So wonderful. So Giving Hearts Day is a great way, and I think you can go onto the Giving Hearts Day website right now and give. So then it would go right there and it'd be designated for Giving Hearts Day. So please go ahead and check that out. I think it's givingheartsday.org. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And you'll want to look for us, a Community Violence Intervention Center.
Yes,
So
Community Violence
it won't
Intervention
be
Center.
abbreviated.
So I'm kind of excited. So 2024 brings some new things for me. So in the past, for every home sale that I've had or home purchase, I donate to Sanford Children's Hospital, which is an organization that is also near and dear to my heart. But in 2024, I'm expanding that. And I'm now, I haven't even told Coiya, but I am having 4 organizations where my clients can choose, thank you for working with me. Where do you want your donation to go? And I will be having CVIC as one of my organizations to give back to. So I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm very excited. Last year I had the honor of working with close to 40 families in our community, whether they're buying or selling. And so it's just fun for me to be able to give back and to give them that choice to say, hey, these are 4 that are important to me and that I love supporting, but where would you like your money to go? So happy to do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'm excited to
And are you doing that all year,
over.
or just for Giving Hearts Day?
All year, yeah, all year long. So it's exciting. I love doing it, and so it'll just be a gift in honor of the client that I work with, and however they want to do that. If they want it designated to a certain program, I'm happy to do that. So work with your team however they want to take the money.
That's good. I guess I should keep my eye out for people looking to buy or sell a house.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. So it's been so great and impactful when I've been partnering with Sanford Children's for a long time, and people will say, oh my goodness, I had no idea. And we've had a child at the hospital there. And so this was really cool, that's going back. And so I know that there's so many organizations in our community that have impacted community members. And so it's nice to be able to say, I'm giving that on behalf of you. So let's sell your house, make some extra money, and give that to CVIC if that's in your heart. So
that's great.
Yeah,
We appreciate that so much. Well, we couldn't do this work without the community.
Oh yeah.
That $1 million is just this community primarily. So
yeah,
that's not large grants or federal or private grants.
It's people here. Can you share about the Dreammaker program.
Yes,
that,
I'd love to
people
talk
hear.
about that. So we are so fortunate for folks who want to become a member of our Dreammaker Society. That is an individual who is committed a minimum of $1,000 annually. That can be paid, one time, monthly, quarterly, however they want to slice and dice that. But they commit to a minimum of $1,000 a year for 5 years, and that really helps us. Pledges are really where we strive as a development team to really focus, because if we can count on a gift in perpetuity, it really helps us plan better. One of the things I'm learning, I still consider myself relatively new to the team, because most of my senior team has been there a couple decades each. So anyway, I've only been there, it'll be 5 years here in July, but one of the things that's become abundantly apparent to me is that the federal government, of which we do have federal grants as well, but depending on how the tide shifts in Washington, you might not be eligible for the same grant you are year after year, and it's just a much bigger Titanic to turn, and it's hard because I don't always feel in control of things, because something might shift in Washington and I'm like, ooh, okay, domestic violence agencies aren't eligible for that anymore. But here locally, typically if a donor commits, we're able to, especially if they're from here or care about Grand Forks and the county, we're able to kind of hang on to them. So we've been very fortunate. We actually have, I think, over 60 dream makers now. Yeah. So those are people that really kind of commit to sticking with us. And we have a variety of levels that people can enter in at. And of course, we do our best to, they're kind of the first to hear about new developments happening in the agency, and often our biggest ambassadors. We have our breakfast coming up on May 1st, and those are often the first place we go to see who would like to host the table.
Yeah, that's where I last year became a member of the society,
yes,
if you will.
thank you.
And I will tell people, I highly encourage, if it's something that you want to give, it's so to get the, hey, here's your information, because it's like, did I give, and what do I need to give, and when do I need to give, and did I give to that organization this year? And I know a lot of times people say like, oh, wait till this day, and it's like, if you can do that, how much nicer that is for the organization to plan ahead and know what that looks like. And so I encourage people to look at that if it's something where you say, I want to give and I always forget, or I don't have my credit card with, or at that thing. So a very easy way, and your team makes it very seamless to be able to give, and it's nice. I can kind of set it and forget it, if you will,
it's kind of nice
in that way.
Yeah.
So your board did an amazing job. Jody did a wonderful job at the breakfast last year. Yeah. So, I mean, how can you be having Jody Hodgson up on the stage to get you all fired up for the day?
I know. And he just has a way with working the crowd there that it's a gift.
Yeah, right?
So,
right? Yeah. So it's wonderful. Happy to be a part, and would love to, if anyone's listening and thinking, oh, I would love to get involved, what can I do? Maybe I don't have the finances right now, but what are other ways I can be involved? Donations, what do you need for items? Anything like that. So I really encourage people to hit up, is it
CVIConline.org.
.org.
And we typically keep a wish list up there because, sometimes things change as the year goes on. Sometimes we need a bunch of, size 5T jeans and diapers, and other times we don't. So it kind of shifts with the years that go by. And we also have a client emergency fund, and a lot of donors prefer to give to that. So that goes to things like emergency car repairs, dental work, all that stuff that you talked about at the beginning of the program that you don't really count on when you're fleeing.
Don't think about. And funds that are raised, does that help offset costs for needs of whether it's the attorney on staff or paperwork? None of that's cheap.
Yeah, well, and honestly, most people, unless they've taken a close look at our annual report, the majority of we're almost a $7 million shop now. So majority of that, of course, in a people business is people. And with what we do, we have, certain standards too around, most of our positions require a bachelor's degree. Of course, our therapist, it's a master's level. Most of our senior folks are master's trained. So it's, that comes with an extra element of expense. And of course, with the job market as it's being, it's really hard to compete with that. So we try to make up for that as a nonprofit with some extra time off as well. But yeah, I mean, that's a majority of our expenses, people. I'm proud to say that with a little bit of an exception, we just owe a smidge of money on our shelter, but for the most part, we own all of our property outright and have very little debt. So, that's something that is really a tribute to the senior team before I got here and how well they managed expenses.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, and I know if somebody wants to give, they can say, I wanted to go to the school age program or, wherever that is. So please check out cviconline.org.
Yes.
Okay. And I can drop that in the comments if anyone has questions. But please check out just so you can better help spread the word in the community about what CVIC does, familiarize yourself, get involved, and then be sure to hit up Giving Hearts Day.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, yes, love that. And it's just, I have that ticker open all day to see.
Do you really?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just absolutely have loved that, and it's like the old Jerry Lewis telethon where they'd update.
I get up at midnight and start watching it because we usually hit our matches pretty early in the day, but it's fun.
Oh, you guys are just too crazy for me.
It's wild.
I know it is. I know it is.
You know what? I'll send you screenshots through the day. I'll be like, hey.
Oh yeah. I just don't get up at midnight.
John's gonna want to change his phone number.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get up at midnight, not even to check the cows or anything.
No.
Okay.
No, unless my dogs make me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine get up at least 4 times a day, so I can check it for you in the off hours. So awesome. So
well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for being here, and make sure that you check out all the resources, and with everything you do today, make sure you put a fork in it.